Enter the current time. Oh, okay. We don't do army time here. 26. It's PM though.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
As long as he's happy. I will.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Nah, I'm remembering.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
The sensitivity needs adjusting. Can do that now. Yeah. Which way is more? Back. Oh, that's better. I think we just go straight through. Does this have jump scares?
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
I don't know my left and rights.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Empty.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour
Super
after all,
quiet compared
just
to
to
the
spend
game.
a few moments here in this immaculate,
Right.
beautiful...
I don't know if it actually picks up this microphone, you know. Settings. Oh, I need audio. Oh, see if I can get that perfect each time. Oh, go on. Oh no, I've ruined it. That could just be 23, I don't care. Right, let's try it now.
constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
The only problem is I can't hear it now. Right. I don't know how to just like come off the game. What if you're not playing this in the AM? Oh, it's PM now. Okay. I'm stupid. 33. There we go. Hang on, hang on. Can I just say something? Thank you for actually setting the clock both times. You're welcome. Yep. Okay. Thank you. I don't even have any way of knowing. Okay. We'll make a deal. Right. Next time you boot up the game, just set the clock to your favorite. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah, alright. Alright, thank you. That was nice of it, wasn't it? Oh, you've not got outside yet. Oh no. Right. Is it gonna start again? There we go. That's fine, I think, right? Ooh. I don't want an achievement.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
How is that? I've already asked that. I am nervous. To the
When
left.
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go
As
up
long
to
as
his
you can
boss's
hear me in the
office,
game,
hoping
I
he might
suppose.
find an answer there.
I didn't hear where I was supposed to go now. And I can hear the game, so it'll do. It'll do. Oh, shall we go in here? Oh, is it gonna? It's not gonna let me. There we go.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
I remember this did something.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
Stanley has
It
no
was
feet.
baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Up, 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 up. Up, 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 up. Well, this is very sensitive. I should probably move my stuff to the desk.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number.
I don't remember it.
2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
I don't know what's different about this in the normal
Descending
version.
deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
It's like 1984.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Oh well.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
I feel like something's gonna make me jump.
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted
weird, 'cause
effort
I
to
remember
walk
this is
forward
just a
and
mind
willingly
boggle.
confront his
This
death.
one's a full-on engine put because the source is outdated. And there's some extra stuff. Okay. Sorry if I'm a bit late to see messages. I really need to just bring back my extra monitor.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, creator.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
That's the green. Where am I? Oh, here I am.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Is that it then? It's just like this whole game is about a dead guy, and like the afterlife for him is work. Okay, how do I do this? Space. I'll just cheat and do that. I am rusty.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Except he's not.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
It is a very nice room.
Yes, truly a room worth
Goodbye.
admiring. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
No, he didn't. Ooh.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone
Almost
you've
like
been
Stanley's the main
neglecting,
character.
Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
My
This
wife.
is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself.
My wife.
To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Can I get in this? No. That's rubbish. Whee!
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach...
I'm guessing there's like a little clicker button that I can't quite see on my screen.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. tell me all about your day.
Oh no.
Gotcha! Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Joke's on you, I am loved. There's a crosshair option. There we go. Ah, there we go. That's a bit big now. I'm blind though, so it's fine. My wife.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Good morning.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do.
Yeah.
Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Jay.
But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Must be to spend time with the boys.
So he went further. He imagined that he came
Come on,
to
at least
two
show me the
open
boys.
doors and that he
Come
could
on.
go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
That's the wrong time. Is that an eye?
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with
Oh,
many
that
possible
changed.
paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Who are you calling a baby?
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Just one more time. B.
But there is no answer.
Oh.
How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it. You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
This is a bit more detailed.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And all of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Do 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 do. Do 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 do.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave
Do
of
less.
disbelief,
I'll
Stanley
talk
decided
less.
to go up to his
So it's like
boss's
tips for
office,
not getting
hoping
fired.
he might find
Do
an
less.
answer there.
Say less. Let's go back in here.
Oh no, no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time.
Thank you, but I'm what the kids call stubborn and I could be here all day. Back in the closet. Pride Month and everything. Now I'm bored. You win. What if I go down?
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Oh no, he don't. He's going to hell.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down?
Exactly.
Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream.
Yay.
What a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all.
Why is there
And
a
he thought
crouch?
to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd, and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just...
He
would
needs to
prove
relax.
it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside.
Once I had a man speak to me, like speak over me in a
Let
dream.
me
It turned
wake
out it
up,
was sleep
he thought
paralysis.
to himself. I'm
It was
through
actually
with this
really
dream.
scary.
I wish
He said,
it to be
remember, you
over.
belong to me.
Let me go back
I
to
had to,
my
like,
job.
pull myself
Let
out
me
from
continue
dreaming.
pushing the buttons. Please. It's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Everything's cool when you're part of a team. Stanley needs to hurry.
Stanley
I need
began
to wash my
screaming.
hair.
Please, someone, wake me up.
Sleep
My name is
paralysis is
Stanley.
awful.
I have a boss. I have an office. I am
woke
real.
up once
Please,
with a
just
man,
someone
like,
tell me I'm
leaning
real.
over me.
I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I?
It is awful. I've not had
And
it
everything
since
went black.
moving into this flat. Kind of makes me think more that my old house was, like, super haunted.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man
and it
who had
scares me
stumbled
because it's
through
just like
town
in corner
talking
of
and
my eye,
screaming to himself,
and I'm seeing
then
it in the
collapsed
mirror.
dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body.
So-called
And
free
then she
thinkers.
turned and ran.
The game is to never end. Okay. How do
All
you
of
get
his co-workers were gone.
to the point
What
where
could
he's
it
like
mean?
really shouting at you
Stanley
again?
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
New content?
Oh.
Sign me up.
New content? What does that mean, new content?
Right, we're on it. We're moving. Whee!
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers.
I didn't know that.
After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful.
It
I'm very
does.
excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
So am I. See if my wife returns.
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
I'm positive. It's not moving.
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
It's the back rooms.
All right. All right, let's see. It's The jump circle?
This is exciting. 3, 2, 1. Very good.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be
Back in
something
the
else,
lift.
right? Goodness.
This way.
Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's
Yeah, I feel
just
like I've wasted my
elevators
money.
and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could counter 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else.
I like
Let's
the
see it.
narrator.
I'm
He's
ready for
funny.
whatever it is.
I called him the creator earlier. That was a bit silly of me.
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley?
That can't
This is
be
what
it.
happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base
that
rush
it?
a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley
Yeah.
Parable is really about.
Let's do that.
No frills, no
Nope.
gimmicks.
Nope.
Just you and me having a great time together like always.
Absolutely.
What do you say, friend?
Let's do that. But I'm assuming like more new content's gonna come here.
Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
No, because I haven't played Poppy Playtime, but I've seen all the playthroughs and I'm traumatized from it. But that explains the crouch. Please don't make me jump. I'm a big baby. I don't like the dark. Okay. That was dramatic. I'm not even playing in the dark, I'm playing in broad daylight.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it
I
got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it.
Oh,
Just
that
our
is
little
beautiful.
secret.
Look at
Take a
that.
look.
Look at that.
I
Oh,
call it the memory zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want.
alright, but that is
Experiences like the launch of
very
the
nice
Stanley
doorway.
Parable on PC.
creator stole. I did not hear that they stole a bunch of art and shit. What did they steal?
You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something.
This is a nice
Overrated.
building. Does it do weddings? I could have my wedding here. Allegedly, the blue guy was someone's house. Ah. Oh. It's not good, is it? That's nice. Kind of like Life is strange. But
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was.
I've
It
done
was
game
literally
journalism.
every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now, a lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
I like that it's like taking the piss out of itself. It's down here. No. Okay.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and
When I go to
rewarding choices
museums, I'm
I've
always like
ever been
zooming through
confronted
'cause
with
I
in a
can't
game.
just sit and
9
read.
out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley?
This is bothering
the
me.
game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories. These were
Go out this
simpler
way.
times, Stanley. But I wouldn't
Yeah.
give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they? Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to
Oh,
be
my
funny.
partner does
I'm
it.
trying to make a serious
He
work
likes
of
to
art.
read
I
everything.
suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound
I'm just like,
philosophical
look at this stuff.
insights
Look
that
at that.
I can't even
Look at
imagine
that.
where I'd have the room to stick them.
I like looking at pictures rather than reading. She says with a book right there already. I've read 3 books this month. When was the last time I went to a museum? We've been to quite a lot lately. Because my partner does a PhD. So we do a lot of educational things. I don't remember the last one we went to. Oh, I do. It was Temple Newsome in Leeds. To be fair, I only went for the farm. There was a farm and it had lots of little piglets. I was obsessed. And the little lambs and one barred at me. Oh, and there were calves and so many babies. And there were
let's
guinea
see what
pigs.
this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I?
A little bit.
You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can.
You are a
Oh,
little bit.
goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. I always, well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't.
dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Ooh, can I go up then? I thought we were going up then. That's mean. Is it this way out?
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button.
Self-roast.
A skip button? Well, yes.
Bye.
Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have. And here it is. Go ahead. Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in... Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks.
Oh, it's dead.
Hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time, I stopped keeping track.
Is this it for the rest of the game? Ominous. Ominous.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertainer.
To be fair, without this skip button, this place will just be like hours.
The end is never the end, 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 is never the end.
Can I go? Can I go? Let me go. Oh, something changed there. Something changed. What are you lot doing? At least there's light again. Aww. It grew. Isn't that pretty? close to the button. There we go. Oh, the light's gone again. Alright, this bit's gone too long now. Oh. Broke it. It's like Wayne's World 2. If you book them, they will come. I might call it there. Mainly because there's still cleaning to do. But I enjoyed that. Let's get some music back on. And now I've got this working again. I'm probably gonna come back more. Thank you, thank you. I should finish that. I could do it this week. But yeah. Thank you for watching, and I'll not be 2 years again. Thank you.